Welcome to My Forever Home, the podcast. I'm Frances Cosway and I've helped hundreds of people create forever homes. I know firsthand how different it is creating a forever home rather than a house you plan to flip in a few years' time. I believe your forever home should reflect what you love and suit your lifestyle rather than being about trends and resale value. You're creating a home for you and your family, not anyone else. So I'm here to help and guide you along the way. I'm going to share all there is to know about creating a quality forever home that's functional, sustainable, future-proof and adaptable to your family's changing needs so it's multi-generational. We don't do cheap and nasty here. We're about creating things to last. It is your forever home after all. I want to help you gain the knowledge you need to be planned and prepared to create the forever home of your dreams. I can't wait to share the journey with you, so let's start. Hello and welcome to this episode of My Forever Home, the podcast. Today I'm going to talk about multi-generational living and how it is adapting and actually demands that we have an adaptive home design. This is particularly important for the forever homes that you are all building and making sure that they are going to be able to throw things at them that you may not even know is going to be thrown at you. This is actually something that I spoke about, I was interviewed about recently, and I thought this is a really poignant topic for now, particularly as more and more people are living in multi-generational households. In fact, the latest statistics are saying that it's around 20% of Australians that are now living in multi-generational households. We can point our finger at many different reasons why this may be the case. There's obviously clearly affordability issues with the fact that people are moving back home to save money for their first home, or adult children are actually staying in their home longer. Hands up if that is you. It's not me yet, but I can actually foresee already that my kids are going to be staying at home a lot longer than perhaps I did all those many moons ago. And the other thing is we've got an aging population, and some families are choosing to have their parents live with them, to be able to care for them, to have them close to them, rather than them going to alternative accommodation arrangements. But it leads to homes having to be designed to work much harder than just designing a home that may only be for yourself and your children. It may need to consider having your own parents come to stay, or the in-laws coming to stay, but even just having adult children that come back to live in a home, their requirements are very different than toddlers or teenagers. So we need to make sure that these multi-generational homes, this adaptive design that I've been pushing for years and years, is really now coming to the fore, even more so because the demands of what's happening in our lifestyles, in our home environments are changing too. So the increased flexibility requirements at different age groups as people live and evolve in a home really determines how hard and how well your home is going to be adaptive to those specific requirements. So let me talk a little bit about, adaptive home design. I also call it smart design overall. The impact really is let me rephrase that. I just lost my train of thought for just a quick moment there. But the focus needs to be on smart and adaptive design for livability. And that is livability across the multi-generations that I've been talking about. So in our minds, let's just, it's your parents, you've got your own children, we've got 3 generations living within a home. So we need to be thinking about how adaptive design is for livability impact over and above poorly designed homes that often focus on a build cost by cutting corners, because that is going to create big compromises that will come later on. They may not be poignant or obvious at the point in time that they're being built. It's only when you start living in the home that you're going to see the impact of this corner cutting, and how trying to get making poorer design choices is going to impact you later on. And what this ultimately does, which, yes, you may have been able to get a cheaper house built initially, but the costs come later. And the cost comes not only to your lifestyle, because the design is not really adequate, but the cost comes financially as well. You may have to move because the house is not designed in a way that enables you to have adaptability and the flexibility that your lifestyle is now requiring. That's costly. You may have to renovate. You may have to extend. You may have to change rooms around. You may have to take out walls, put in walls to be able to create the design that's required for your requirements. That's costly. You may not be able to accommodate family changes as you would like to. So, for example, you may have stairs, and that means that you may not be able to offer as much as you would like to. You may not be able to offer for your parents or your grandparents to come and stay with you and live with you so you can look after them, because the design of the house is just not feasible. And, there's not only just stairs in terms of getting access to the house, and this is all changing with the NCC code anyway, which is the National Construction Code. It could just be stairs internally, that the house has been designed with all the bedrooms upstairs, which means there's no opportunity for you to be able to provide for your family as you would like to. It may mean that you're on a sloping block and your elderly person in your life, or it doesn't even have to be an elderly person, it can just be someone that may have mobility issues, is not able to navigate, a big slope in a driveway or whatever it is to be able to access the house. And it really comes back to, not only the design on the site, but you may have not actually purchased the right site to start with to be able to facilitate and house and accommodate all the things that you want to in your home. So, key focus when designing a home that you're planning to stay in, a forever home, and yes, there are other podcasts that I talk about this, but I want to touch on it here as well because it all links in together, is anticipating and designing around future needs. It may not be that you're living that life right now of having to accommodate multi-generational living. There may be things that come up in your future lifestyle that you never ever anticipated. There may be things that happen in your life and situations that occur that you never ever thought you'd have to foresee or deal with, that your home now needs to contend with. So what it means is you need to extend your thinking beyond designing for the now. And this even comes down to things like designing a home around toddler children, young children. It's funny, I went and saw, just a slight side here for a moment, I went and visited a client a couple of weeks ago, and they'd been in their home probably 18 months, and I did a floor plan sanity check with them, and we did their materials and so forth. And she said to me, there's one thing that's stuck in my head that you said to me. And they had small children at the time, and she said that I had said to her, don't design your home around small children. Because for the parents out there, how fast does that phase last? It's not long that you have little children. And yet I do see and experience people designing an entire home around small children that will not be small for very long. So when I just mentioned anticipating and designing around the future, you may be thinking, well, yeah, that's great, Frances, but how do I know what my future needs may be? And this is where we need to have adaptive home design, designs that are able to change over time. Only today was I with a client who had what they would call a rumpus room right now, but their children were 8 and 10. I said, well, this you can almost earmark in the next few years is going to be a teenage retreat. They just couldn't see it yet. The kids won't necessarily want to be hanging around with their parents in the living room all the time. They want to find their own spaces. And I think that leads to another point, that this adaptive design needs to allow for everyone in the home being able to find a private space within the home that they can retreat to. And look, it may be their bedroom, but it may also just be another part, another space in the house that they can go to. It might just be a quiet location in sitting in a window seat. It might be that they're going to be in one of the other living rooms while most of the family are in the main living area. It may be that they go and hang out in what may be called a retreat space, but everyone in the home needs to be able to have a space that they can get some privacy. So back to this adaptive design. Designing for factors that you may not need to apply to your life now, so that you can change it as the life stages that you're going to go through. Your home can adapt to those rather than you having to move. It's going to cost you a lot more financially and emotionally to move, because your home won't actually be able to adapt and be flexible to the requirements that you have as you go through these different life stages. And maybe life stages and things like I mentioned before that you can't even anticipate right now. So now I'd like to go through some of the adaptive home design thoughts that you can consider. This is by no means the be-all and end-all of list. There's enough here for you to think about and ponder and consider for your own build. There's also some of these things that are now being mandatory, not across all states, but a lot of states in Australia through the National Construction Code, the NCC. At time of recording, South Australia is not embracing those changes, which I won't go off on a tangent here too much, but is a little bit disappointing, because these new changes are going to be fantastic news for anyone building, because it means that you're going to have to create and build a home that is more energy efficient. But also there are going to be accessibility and what I would call adaptive accessibility measures that need to be considered and designed for from the outset. But the beauty about that is it means you can stay in the home longer, and that's exactly what I'm talking about here. So this is progressive thinking, not backward thinking. So I'll save all that thinking for another time, but let me talk about some of the things that you can think about with that are encompassing in an adaptive home design. Think about accessibility. How are older generations of your family, older generations of your friends, or people that are less mobile, that are going to be part of your life, how are they going to be able to get around your house? How are they going to be able to get in your house, get around the house? How are you going to be able to facilitate for them to stay with you for short or long-term periods of time? So step-free access and step-free on the ground floor. So what I mean by that is you can have a step-free access into your house, but because you may be on a sloping block, you may have a step up or down as you go down the hallway through to get from one part of the house to another part of the house. There may actually be internal steps inside on the ground floor or in the entry level, because sometimes the entry level is actually the high part of the house and you step right down into the second level, into a basement level. I won't digress too much here. Let's move on. The location of bedrooms on the ground floor. I've been talking about this for years and years and years. I feel like a broken record about it. Having a bedroom, at least, on the ground floor. This is going to give you the ability to stay in your home longer, or have less mobile people stay at your home. We designed, and I encourage it, and I see it more and more, but not everyone is embracing this, having a second master on the ground floor so you can move downstairs if you need to. That's adaptive home design. Sliding doors. Provision for these, because it means that It's easier for someone with mobility issues that may be in a wheelchair being able to navigate in and out of rooms and spaces. Sliding doors can be much easier. However, having said that, you don't want that on every single room necessarily, all the time, because sliding doors don't seal as much as hinge doors, as well as what hinge doors do. Another thing that I have harped on about till the cows come in is doors to all rooms to add privacy and to provide flexibility for what that room can be over time. This is probably the number one thing if you do anything to your floor plan. This is what I think is the number one thing that you can do to add flexibility to your space. Interestingly, just as another example with the client that I was seeing today, they had a room which is super, super common, particularly with project homes with volume builders. The first room as you get into the home is open. It doesn't have any doors on it. This is cheap construction, with the idea being that it could be a second lounge or a study or some sort of space. But it can't really be those things because you can't mitigate noise, you can't create privacy. And so what you use that space for without doors, this massive opening, is incredibly restrictive. So that is what I would encourage you absolutely not to do, because what on earth is that space going to be able to be used for if you're trying to create adaptive home design? An office, you've got people on the phone, it's noisy, you've got kids screaming down the back of the house when you're on a Zoom call with your boss. It's not conducive. You can't make it a bedroom because there's no doors, so you can't create privacy. You can't have it as a study for the same reasons as you can't really have it as an office. You can't make it into a second, well, you can have it as a second living, but then the noise is going to travel between the front of the house and the back of the house. So it's not really a space that you're going to use as a second living. It's not, you can't really make it cozy. And so what this client had tried to set that room up for themselves was like a library space, which actually seemed really nice. I thought it was a great way to use the space. It's open, it's books, you could sort of create it as a reading nook, but it's never going to be private and it's never going to be cozy. And I sort of fleshed the idea with them of, imagine what it would be like if you had doors to this space. Even glass doors, with panelled glass, that you could make it feel cozy and carpeted and make it feel like a real zone, real different space, different feeling in that space. But when it's open, you just can't quite create that in the same way. But what you're really missing a trick here without the doors is the ability to make these spaces into something else. They are very, very limited without doors. If you do one thing after this podcast episode, go and put a whole lot of doors on big open spaces that, not open plan living, of course, but these big open rooms that have no doors. You're not going to get adaptable design without having doors. Wider door entrances for wheelchair accessibility is another one. So that links to the accessibility, the sliding door thing. Having wider door entrances also enables for adaptive design. And decent sized bedrooms. Again, volume builders, project builders, not all the time, but often will have really small bedrooms because they want to get more bedrooms in. Hello, I live in a 5-6 bedroom house, but the rooms are pokey. What you really want to be able to do is have a good sized bedroom that allows for a queen or a king bed, because that's going to give you flexibility, isn't it? It's going to give you the ability to have adult children come home. I've spoken to clients in the past where they're not just having adult children come home, they're having the entire family come to live with them because their house is being renovated or they're saving. So we're not just talking about 1 or 2 adult children moving back to the family home. We're talking about an adult child of yours that's moving back with their partner and their 2 children. So these spaces, these bedrooms need to be big enough to allow for adults to sleep there. Most adults will be wanting a king or a queen bed. But even if you don't have a queen or a king bed in that space and you've got a smaller child in that space, smaller children generally want more places to be able to sit and do writing or craft. They might want to study in the space. So if you've got a single bed in there or a king single or even a double, you've still got room around that space to be able to put additional pieces of furniture that they might need as they're evolving as a child in that space as well. So it's not just about the queen or the king bed, it's giving flexibility for what other things that room how it can serve whoever's in that room over the life of the room. Many rooms that I've seen have really only got space for a bed and a bedside table, and that's about it. I would suggest that you're looking at a minimum of 3.8 by 3.8 metres. When we're talking about these adaptable spaces, and I've mentioned this before on the podcast as well, but I'll quickly touch on it here, is when I was talking about those rooms that you create that have got doors, it means that these spaces can be more than one thing over time, and that's adaptive design. So a room might be a playroom when the kids are young. It might become a study when they're in year 12. It may become another bedroom because you've got people staying from overseas, so it's a spare room. It may be it's got a desk in there for working from home, but then it's also a spare room, so it's got a sofa bed in there. It could then become another bedroom because there's an additional child that you didn't plan for. But at least when you've got doors on these rooms, they can be so much more than one thing. Multifunctional spaces, like I just said, that they can be more than, study and a spare room. It might be rather than just having an entire room. And these rooms on floor plans are generally quite large. A theatre room full of big, massive, bulky chairs, it can never be anything else because you can't move those big, bulky chairs, is you can still have a theatre room. You can still have a room with a projector or a room with a big TV, but you can have furniture in there that can move. And that space could also be a teenage retreat, which is what I was talking to about the clients today. It doesn't have to be one thing. That's not adaptive. And then self-contained areas within a home for greater independence. This is really important if you do have perhaps a parent or an adult child come and move back home. It could be that you create something else on the land that you have, on the block that you have. You may have a granny flat in the garden. This could be a study. It could be a teenage retreat. It could be sort of that in-between step between a child, one of your children moving out, but not quite, but that's sort of, we're moving out to the granny flat or the outhouse out the back. It may be that you have a space upstairs if you do have a 2-story home, that you've got a kitchenette. Maybe there is, God forbid, a basin in the bedroom. Funnily enough, I just finished watching Baby Reindeer. That's a whole nother conversation. But, in Britain, it was really common. I noticed that he had the basins in the bedrooms just so you can brush your teeth and grab a glass of water and so forth. Maybe it's a good thing for your home. I don't know. I'm not here to judge whether it's going to work for you or not, but I have actually seen them make more of a comeback. Maybe there's a washing machine upstairs in this more independent living area that you might allocate into a space. I had a client once who upstairs, they almost created like a separate house upstairs. They had a washing machine, they had a kitchenette, they had all their master bedroom, and they said, we don't actually want to go downstairs if we don't want to. Everything is upstairs. I don't want to have to take all my laundry downstairs, so they created a washing machine. Second, they had a laundry downstairs, but they had a second washing machine upstairs because they just wanted to do all of their own things upstairs. So how's that for an idea? You'd have all of that upstairs, and then the adult children could be downstairs. And then if they're not able to really navigate the stairs anymore, it's becoming more challenging, the adult children could move up there, or one of the adult kids, whatever it is, and then they move downstairs. So who says that that's not the right thing to do? Second ensuite might be that there's a second ensuite with this secondary master that I was talking downstairs, or you may have a master downstairs, which really is the ultimate future-proofing. And if I talk to real estate agents, that's what people are really looking for more often than not, is the master bedroom downstairs. You can watch the comings and goings of teenage children because you're right near the front door as well. Ha ha. And then you may have a secondary master upstairs. Jack and Jill bathrooms, that more people can access this a bathroom from their bedrooms. Look, that was just, as I said to you, it's not an exhaustive list. It's just to give you an idea of some of the things to think about. So yes, I call this future-proofing. And I've always called it future-proofing. When I got into this forever home space, I always talked about future-proofing your home design. Now with the multi-generational living, we might be calling it adaptive home design. It's another way, it's another slant to put on it. But really the goal is always the same, that you're able to stay in your home as long as possible because you've got such smart adaptive design that there's flexible spaces, multifunctional spaces and rooms that can be more than one thing over the life of the time that you're going to be living in the home. So that is just going to be a great outcome for everyone. And how beautiful is it to think that you may be in a position that your home is so well designed that you can invite elderly parents or adult children back, that you're able to look after the older generations of our families in the comfort of your home, that you've got the facility and the opportunity to be able to do that just because you were thinking about the future when you were designing your house initially anyway. So I'll leave you with that. There's an emotional connection in there. There's financial reasons to do this. There's lots of reasons to do this. So I hope that it gives you some food for thought and some really constructive ways for you to look at your floor plan. And don't forget that if you're stuck on, oh, is this going to be future-proof or not, I do offer the floor plan sanity check service where, a second set of professional eyes, in this instance an interior designer eyes, can really look at a space very, very differently to someone else, the designer that's the architect or the draftsman that has initially designed the home. But I'm just looking at different things. I'm looking at flow and flexibility. I'm going to be absolutely adding doors. It's very rare that I'm not adding doors when I'm doing a floor plan sanity check. But just know that service is there for you. It's a very, very popular one because people want to feel that they have got a second set of expert eyes going over their floor plan just to be sure, have I covered everything off? Is there anything here that I'm missing a trick on? Is this the best it can be? So, and I've got other people that contact me about it because they know their floor plan's right, but they can't put their finger on it themselves. And often I will be able to put the finger on what the issue is. So you can always find out about that at whitepebbleinteriors.com.au floor plan. It's also under our services section of our website, and I'll make sure that I add it in the show notes as well, so you can go straight to that too. So I hope that's helped you this week, and I'll be back here in another few weeks to talk about our next topic. I have it planned, but I'm not going to mention what it is, but it's certainly something controversial. You know that I'm not one to shy away from a little bit of controversy. So I hope that you'll come and listen to that one as well in the next couple of weeks. Have a great week, everyone. Bye for now. If you're ready to renovate or build your forever home, you're in the right place. Here are some ways to gain further inspiration or how we can work together. Book a chat with me so we can discuss your project in more detail and see how we may be able to assist you with one of our fixed price packages. You can book a chat with me directly at whitepebbleinteriors.com.au/chat. If you're after some peace of mind that your floor plan is as good as it can be, for a small investment, a floor plan sanity check could be just what you need. I review your plans as that second set of professional eyes, ensuring it's functional, flexible, and future-proof for lasting peace of mind. This can save you thousands in structural changes down the track. You can find out more and book directly at whitepebbleinteriors.com.au. And if you'd like to get your hands on some reading material, unlock your dream home and dive into our first ever magazine, Creating Your Forever Home. It's packed with expert insights, stunning visuals, and practical advice on building your forever home. Grab your copy and be inspired now. You can also access the first 3 chapters of my book, Your Forever Home, a practical and helpful guide to gain insights on how to create a home that will suit your needs for the long term. Everything is available at whitepebbleinteriors.com.au/links. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of My Forever Home. If you loved it, please leave a review, share it on Facebook and Instagram for your friends, and be sure to sign up to our newsletter for more insights on creating the forever home of your dreams. If you're really ready to get started, you can book a chat with me via the website whitepebbleinteriors.com.au or check out our online courses designed to provide a clear framework for you at myforeverhome.com. If you've got a question, be sure to get in touch at podcast at myforeverhome.com. Have a great day.